Okay, everyone. Today we're going to focus on an important topic that really helps your English sound natural and accurate: stative verbs. At B2 level, you're expected not only to recognize them, but also to understand why they behave differently from other verbs and how meaning can change when they are used in different forms. Let's start with a clear definition. Stative verbs are verbs that describe a state, condition, opinion, perception, or mental situation rather than a physical action. Because they describe states, things that usually last for some time, we normally do not use them in continuous tenses. Instead, we usually use them in simple forms such as the present simple, past simple, or present perfect simple. For example, I completely agree with you. It doesn't matter. I didn't understand what he said. Did the fish taste nice? He has always disliked the theatre. They haven't promised anything yet. In all these sentences, the verbs describe states or mental attitudes, not actions in progress, so continuous forms would sound unnatural. Now let's look at the types of meaning stative verbs usually express. Many stative verbs describe thoughts, opinions, or mental processes such as believe, know, imagine, recognize, understand, deny, wish. For example, I believe you. She knows the answer. I imagine it will rain. He denied the accusation. I wish I had more time. These verbs describe mental states, not actions you actively perform. Other stative verbs describe possession or relationships, such as belong, own, owe, concern, involve, depend. For example, this book belongs to me. I owe him money. The decision concerns everyone. The result depends on the weather. These situations are states, so we normally don't use continuous forms. Some stative verbs describe appearance or perception, such as seem, appear, look, sound, taste, see. For example, you seem tired. She appears nervous. That sounds interesting. The soup tastes good. I see your point. Again, these describe impressions or perceptions, not actions. At B2 level, it's very important to understand that some verbs can be both stative and dynamic, depending on meaning. For example, look can be stative or active. You look tired describes appearance, stative, but she is looking at the painting describes an action, dynamic. Another example is see. I see what you mean, understand stative, versus I'm seeing the doctor tomorrow, meeting dynamic. The meaning determines whether continuous is possible. Another subtle point is that continuous forms can sometimes be used with normally stative verbs to express temporary behaviour or emphasis, especially in informal speech. For example, you're being rude does not describe personality, but behaviour at this moment. Similarly, I'm loving this song is informal and expressive, even though love is normally stative. At B2 level, you should recognize these as stylistic choices rather than standard usage. Let's now connect stative verbs to a real context like science and nature vocabulary, which often uses them. For example, this material contains carbon. The atmosphere contains oxygen. This theory involves evolution. The results depend on temperature. The diamond appears flawless. The data seem reliable. Notice how these verbs describe states, properties, or relationships rather than actions. Here are some important B2 stative verbs you should recognize and use correctly: appear, believe, belong, concern, contain, deny, depend, fit, imagine, impress, involve, know, owe, promise, recognize, satisfy, see, seem, sound, wish. You should practice identifying whether each verb describes a state or an action in context. A useful strategy is to ask yourself, is this verb describing an action or a situation chart state? If it describes a state, it usually should not be in a continuous tense. For example, I'm knowing the answer is incorrect because know is a state verb. The correct sentence is I know the answer. So to summarize clearly, stative verbs describe states such as thoughts, feelings, possession, perception, and relationships. Because states are not actions in progress, we normally use stative verbs in simple tenses, not continuous ones. However, some verbs can be both stative and dynamic depending on meaning, and advanced speakers learn to recognize this difference. Mastering stative verbs is a key B2 skill because it improves both grammatical accuracy and naturalness. Native speakers instinctively know which verbs sound strange in continuous form, and this is exactly the kind of intuition you're developing now.